Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper, the CNN Special Live coverage. The Senate deal at hand on the debt ceiling and partial government shutdown is exactly what many political watchers predicted. Not a long-lasting solution, but a short-term Band-Aid that's come to be known as kicking the can. That's setting up a quick fix and pushing the deadline to find a real answer for later. Congress's history of kicking the can is so prolific and convoluted, we've offered a simple timeline that still doesn't quite do justice to the dysfunction. To get through fiscal year 2011, Congress and the President had to kick the can 8 times, passing and continuing resolutions that short-term funding bills in place of a real budget. Then to get through fiscal year 2012, 6 short-term funding bills. And to get through fiscal year 2013, Congress managed to get by with just 2 bills. Amid all these resolutions, we should point out there were some major face-offs. Remember these. There was the first debt ceiling crisis of 2011 when the U.S. lost its AAA rating, the fiscal cliff of 2012. One result from that, those across-the-board government spending cuts called sequestration. A lot to talk about. Despite the doomsday economic predictions, if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, there are still a lot of anti-Obamacare advocates who want to kill this deal. One alert sent by grassroots group Freedomworks urges people to call their reps and tell them vote no on the Senate plan on the table. Quote, now House Republicans are contemplating an amendment that would lift the debt ceiling and fund Obamacare in return for essentially nothing. It's basically a full surrender, they say, to the intransigent left and another win for the insulated Beltway elites. Joining me now, the author of those words, Matt Kibbe, President and CEO of Freedomworks. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You see this as a full surrender by House Republicans. Explain that.
I do. It's exactly what Harry Reid and Barack Obama insisted on from day one. And Republicans always had one of 2 choices. They could fight against Democrats who were completely intransient. They said, I'm not going to negotiate. Or they could capitulate early on. And instead of presenting a united front opposed to Obamacare, opposed to spending so much money we don't have, they started shooting at each other. John McCain started shooting at Ted Cruz and helped the Democrats define the narrative.
They say, I mean, the people who oppose your position say, look, you never had the votes to defund or delay Obamacare, that it was never going to happen. So did you actually accomplish anything?
Yes, I think we did, and I think what we need to understand is that Obamacare is, in reality, a train wreck. It is, in reality, pushing people off of their current coverage. It's going to raise premiums. It's going to force young people, through the individual mandate, to buy coverage they can't afford.
But what did you accomplish?
What we accomplished was fighting. And it's important in Washington, D.C. to step up to the plate and actually stand for something, even if the Democrats don't want to go along with it. This was all about educating the public. It was all about trying to move the needle outside the Beltway. We didn't do that because Republicans started shooting at each other.
But aren't there ways to educate the public to your position without furloughing workers, without shutting down the government?
Well, it's interesting, yeah. Back in the old days, when Tip O'Neill was the speaker, he shut down the government 12 times, and there was always this adversarial give and take between Republicans that wanted to do some things and Democrats that wanted to do other things. We've stopped doing that now. Tip O'Neill famously used a shutdown to force Ronald Reagan to back off on his favorite program, Star Wars. We don't do that anymore, so now we fund both guns and butter. And that's how we get $17 trillion in national debt. It's also how we end up with implementing Obamacare, a program that no one in this town thinks is actually working today.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of complaints about the website and the rollout of it. Certainly nobody, I mean, in fact, do you worry that, in fact, you could have had a stronger case? I mean, if this had not happened, there would be more focus on the ridiculous way this thing has rolled out, the beyond just computer glitches. I mean, it's been sort of a disaster the way it's rolled out thus far, but it hasn't gotten the attention it could have had otherwise.
Well, the press loves to focus on the theatrics and all these tactical disputes that are going on, but real Americans in the real world are being forced, whether they want to or not, to look at the actual cost of Obamacare. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to figure this stuff out. So I would predict that 6 months from now, you're going to see a number of Democrats calling for a delay in Obamacare because it's going to be a political albatross on anybody that supported it.
So what is the price that House Republicans who vote for this, who vote for an end to the shutdown, what do you want the political price for them to be?
You know, this whole thing feels a lot like the Wall Street bailout when John Boehner and Nancy Pelosi walked arm in arm and forced some of their caucus to support that really bad piece of legislation. It wasn't popular to oppose it in this town. That's how we feel today. I think moving forward, we need to keep focusing on spending. We need to keep focusing on on repeal of the individual mandates. And since Barack Obama has already let big business off the hook, we should let the rest of the Americans off the hook. And we need to force Congress to actually live by its own laws.
So will they pay a political price? I mean, primary challenges, the like?
Oh, I think absolutely. You saw that happen, and you're seeing a repopulation of the Republican Party. You're going to see a number of Democrats start to back away from the president's position on this. It's going to happen because the reality is Obamacare is not working for Americans.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.